So when I did my Colorado, Wyoming research trip, I spent the night in Laramie, Wyoming, and I did that on purpose because I have people in our family tree who are buried in Laramie. And I wanted to go to the cemetery and find them. I found them. I shared a quick little social media video you might have seen where I showed the tombstone of a woman who died in the flu pandemic. And then I showed a tombstone of a married couple. And I said in the video, just with some text, these are the people who kidnapped her children. And then I showed another tombstone that shows the deceased infant sons of that married couple. And I meant to come in with more context, didn't get around to it until now. Here's that story. And it's a good reminder of why you just can't make assumptions in family history. And even as information comes in and the story is changing, you still need to stay open so that you can really understand what happened. Because I have been looking into the story now for a decade, and even now I'm not totally sure that I understand. But let me explain. So let's talk about these daughters, these kidnapped daughters. We've got Elva Iola. Elva Iola is the oldest. And then we've got Verda Beatrice. Verda Beatrice, she's the youngest. These two little girls are the children of Sadie and William Mills. And this is a young couple who got married, had a couple of kids, decided they didn't like each other very much and got divorced. When you really start to dig in, Sadie, who was born Sarah Ashment, she's from this big, fairly well-off LDS Mormon family in Logan, Utah. And I get the impression that Sadie's kind of the black sheep of the family. She actually gets married, before she marries William Mills, she gets married even younger as a teenager. And I think that marriage, either there's a hasty divorce or there's just an annulment. Because I think she gets married and like almost right away her dad goes and gets her and says, no, not so much. She ends up marrying William Mills. William is like a rancher, cowboy from Wyoming. He seems to be a fairly stable worker. He is known to people up in his corner of Wyoming where he's from. He's like a deputy sheriff and all that sort of stuff. Billy and Sadie get married in 1908. Their kids are little when they get divorced. Anyway, in the divorce, Sadie actually loses custody of the kids. Billy doesn't get custody either. They get taken into this, it's called a day home, but it's basically a children's home for working mothers, with the idea being that a mom who has a job can't possibly be providing like the right kind of life for their children, so the children need to be taken away. She does sue to get them back and she's successful. This all happens in Ogden, Utah. So she ends up going to like the other side of Wyoming. I mean, maybe because she doesn't want her kids to end up in this day home. She goes to Laramie, Wyoming, which is over kind of like north and then a little bit over from Denver, Colorado, if you were to go straight up, because Laramie is west of Cheyenne. And she does end up getting married again, but in the meantime, I mean, she's working. The person that she marries, George Vickery, he's off. He's in Europe because he's going to fight. There's World War I stuff going on. So Sadie's in Laramie, but she's got custody legally of her kids, but her kids end up living with this married couple. I'm not totally sure why. My guess is because Sadie was working and she needed to have the girls be somewhere. And as part of her work, I think she's volunteering or maybe working in the Red Cross tent during the flu pandemic. She catches the flu and she dies. Now, where is Billy? Billy, the divorce has happened. Billy has never left his little corner of Wyoming. He's in Big Piney, Wyoming. So he's not by Laramie. He's over, Wyoming's like rectangle. He's over here and Sadie's down here. But he knows that his girls are in Laramie. Now, Sadie dies. Her family back in Logan is notified, and immediately they're like, they want the girls. Where are the girls? They're going to get the girls. They're going to bring them down. Sadie's got a ton of brothers and sisters, and plus her dad and her stepmom are still there. Everybody wants the girls. But Billy says, no, they're my girls. They're my daughters. I'm going to take care of them, even though I'm not taking care of them because I'm up here. They're mine. So the girls stay in Laramie, and he goes and he visits them. It's in the paper that he's going down. People know that these are his daughters. Here's the weird thing. Okay, so I've got the dates. Sadie dies in December of 1918. I'm not exactly sure at what point and like what's going on with the girls, because the girls end up in separate households. In January of 1920, Billy is still alive, but he's up in Big Piney, and the girls are listed in the census in 2 different households. We've got one of the girls listed with this family called the Wallachs. The younger girl, Verda, is listed with the Wallachs as their daughter in the census. And the older girl, Elva Ione, she's now listed as Dorothy with this other couple, William and Anna Graham, and she's listed as their 5-year-old daughter. Anyway, so January 1920, at least as far as the census taker knows, that's what's going on. December of 1920, Billy's still up in, Big Piney. The girls are still down in Laramie. Something happens. I don't even know what happened. Billy suddenly has some sort of like episode or fit, and he just goes crazy, and they take him to the hospital, and he's just lost it. And a week later, he dies. I don't know why. I don't know what it was. And I feel really bad for him. It must have been a horrible death, because it sounds like nobody knew what it was, and they just kind of locked him up, and then he died on, I think, Christmas Eve. So December 1918, Sadie dies. December 1920, Billy dies. And these girls are 3 and 5 or 4 and 6 or something like that, and they've lost both of their biological parents. Here's the thing. Again, I don't totally know why the girls were already in separate households and why the Grahams were already calling Elva Dorothy. I don't know why her name was already different. There's almost no way that these families don't know that Sadie's extended family wants the girls. And legally, Sadie's extended family at this point, they have a claim. They are blood relatives. It's not that huge of a distance of relation. Nobody ever contacts the people in Logan. The family in Logan finds out quite a while later that Billy has died. And for whatever reason, they're trying to find the girls. They don't find them. So somehow they didn't seem to know that the Grahams and the Wallachs have the children. The only reason I know this is because there's letters to the girls as adults after like lawyers or maybe detectives have found them, because somebody has died and left Sadie and her daughters money, and they have to track them down. So you don't see the girls having any contact with this Logan family until they're adults. And as adults, the girls aren't particularly keen. I mean, they get in enough contact to be able to get the money, but it's like that relationship with that family in Logan just never really comes together. So let's talk about, I showed the Sadie who died from the pandemic. I showed her headstone. And then I talked about William and Anna and how they are the kidnappers. Is that fair? I mean, are they villains? I actually don't know. I'm not totally sure what happened there. Like, I do know that they knowingly kept the girls. I know that they filed for an adoption and a legal name change, which of course made Elva Ione Mills very hard to find because she became Dorothy Graham. But who were they? William and Anna were just people who lived in Laramie. William he's a store owner, he's a butcher, but he's also a store owner. He's a respected figure in the community. He's in fraternal organizations, she's in fraternal organizations. They are mentioned often in newspapers. Before they get married, she's a school teacher, but they're both from Wyoming. They have deep roots in the community. They're very respected. They probably gave Dorothy, I know that Dorothy had a lot of affection for her parents, William and Anna. I think they gave her a very nice home. They had lost 4 sons. They had buried 4 sons. For whatever reason, the children seemed to just be born and then immediately die, these 4 babies. And Anna had spent some time in a hospital or institution down in Denver after the death of her 4th son. So I'm assuming that probably hit her pretty hard. So by the time they are asked to take care of these girls, for what I'm assuming originally was supposed to be a very temporary time, they've gone through a lot of loss. And then I'm not sure why they decided they couldn't keep both girls. I'm not sure why the girls were split up. But from an emotional standpoint, it's not necessarily surprising that 2 years after they took the girls into their home, or a little bit more than 2 years, when the girls, both of their parents have died, that they decide that they do want to keep her. Now, when they file the adoption paperwork, they do lie and they say that there's no known relatives and that nobody wants this child. Again, I'm pretty sure that they did that on purpose. Does that make them bad people? And are they redeemed by the fact that Dorothy spoke of them very fondly, and there's lots of correspondence and they never took in another child. There was never another child. And so she was their only daughter. and it seems like they did a nice job raising her. But does that make it okay? I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Let me know what you think.